stories. We are doing something a little bit more different today because, as you can tell, I am right now at the sea coast of Greece, and although I have prepared quite a few horror stories, I thought of taking just a quick break and doing something simply to enjoy the surrounding nature and hopefully relax. I hope that the sound quality is good. I'm recording with this mic and I cannot hear the quality of the sound while I'm recording it. So let's hope for the best. While being here, I also got inspired to write two horror stories, and this is my notebook where I am writing details, like tiny details, notes, and ideas for inspirations and such. So one of the stories that I'll record when I get back to Germany will be The Violet Voice, which is a folk legend of a guy called Blumenpeter, and it's interesting to know that my town where I live is the town where his grave is. So I'll actually go and take some footage from this old graveyard and So cute, so cute. And here I got few postcards. I think this is, but I'm not 100% sure, Nike, a statue of Nike. Then we have this handsome fella. I don't know if this is Adonis. It might be Adonis. It doesn't say anywhere. And then we have the gorgeous Medusa. Also, I am currently reading Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and I cannot describe what a delight this book is. I love her writing style. Before this book, I read The Graveyard Shift, which, in my opinion, was quite the disappointment. And Mary Shelley Frankenstein came to fix this very bad impression that I had left after reading The Graveyard Shift. So, thank you, Mary Shelley. Look at these treasures I found at the beach. Aren't they pretty? This pink hue. They look so soft and beautiful. Such pretty little pebbles. One of my favorite sounds is when I lay on my back swimming and I submerge my ears under the water so I can hear the sand moving underneath me and these little pebbles turning. Such a gentle noise, and I can only regret that I'm not able to share it with you. However, I hope that by bringing some of these pebbles here on the surface, I can mimic the sound they make underwater. Then early next morning, should have arrived at 6:46, but train was an hour late. Budapest seems a wonderful place. The glimpse which I got of it from the train, and the little I could walk through the streets. I fear to go very far from the station, as we have arrived late and would start as near the correct time as possible. The impression I had was that we were leaving the west and entering the east, the most western of splendid bridges over the Danube, which is here of noble width and depth, took us among the traditions of Turkish rule. We left in pretty good time and came after nightfall to Klausenburg. Here I stopped for the night at the Hotel Royal. I had for dinner, or rather supper, a chicken done up some way with red pepper, which was very good but thirsty. Ma'am, get the recipe for me now. I asked the waiter, and he said it was called paprika handel, and that, as it was a national dish, I should be able to get it anywhere along the Carpathians. I found my smattering of German very useful here indeed. I don't know how I should be able to get on without it. Having some time at my disposal when in London, I have visited the British Museum and made search among the books and maps in the library regarding Transylvania. It had struck me that some foreknowledge of the country could hardly fail to have some importance in dealing with a noble of that country. I find that the district he named is in extreme east of the country, just on the borders of three states. I find that the district he named is in the extreme east of the country, just on the border of three states: Transylvania, Moldavia, and Bukovina. In the midst of the Carpathian Mountains, one of the wildest and least known portions of Europe. I was not able to light on any map of work giving the exact locality of the castle Dracula, as there are no maps of this country as yet to compare with our own ordnance survey maps. But I found at Bistritz, the post town named by Count Dracula, is fairly well-known place. I shall enter here some of my notes, as they may refresh my memory when I talk over my travels with Mina. In the population of Transylvania, therefore, distinct nationalities: Saxons in the south, and mix with them the Valachs, who are the descendants of the Dacians, Magyars in the west, and Chechelis in the east and north. I'm going among the latter, who claim to be descended from Attila and the This may be so, for when the Magyars conquered the country in the 11th century, they found the Huns settled in. I read that every known superstition in the world is gathered into the horseshoe of the Carpathians, as if it were the center of some sort of imaginative whirlpool. If so, my stay may be very interesting. Ma'am, I must ask the Count all about them. I did not sleep well, though my bed was comfortable enough, for I had all sorts of queer dreams. There was a dog howling all night under my window, which may have had something to do with it, or it may have been the paprika, for I had to drink up all the water in my carafe. It's a type of vase, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Towards morning I slept, and was wakened by the continuous knocking at my door, so I guess I must have been sleeping soundly. I had for breakfast more paprika and a sort of porridge of maize flour, which they said it was Mama Lika, and I really like Mama Lika. We have it in Bulgaria as well, in some regions. An eggplant stuffed with force meat, a very excellent dish which they called impletata. Mem, get the recipe for this also. I had to hurry breakfast for the train started a little before 8, or rather it ought to have done so, for after rushing to the station at 7:30 I had to sit in the carriage for more than an hour before we begin to move. It seems to me that further east you go, the more unpunctual are the trains. What ought they to be in China? All day long we seemed to dawdle through the country, which was full of beauty of every kind. Sometimes we saw little towns or castles, or the top of steep hills, such as we see on old missiles. Sometimes we run by river and streams, which seemed from the wide stone margin on side of them to be subject of great floods. It takes a lot of water and running strong to sweep the outside edge of a river. Clear at every station there were groups of people, sometimes crowds, and all sorts of attire. Some of them were just like peasants at home, for those I saw coming through France and Germany, with short jackets and round hats and homemade trousers. But others were very, very picturesque. The women looked pretty, except when you got near them. But they were very clumsy about the waist. They had all wide sleeves of some kind or other, and most of them had big belts. but of course petticoats. Under them, the strangest figures we saw were the Slovaks, who are more barbarian than the rest, with their big cowboy hats. Great baggy, dirty white trousers, white linen shirts, and enormous heavy leather belts, nearly a foot wide, all studded over with brass nails. They wore light boots with their trousers tucked into them and had long black hair and heavy black mustaches. They are very picturesque but do not look prepossessing. On the stage, they would be set down at once as some old Oriental band of brigands. They are, however, I'm told, very harmless and rather wanting in natural self-assertion. It was on the dark side of twilight when we got to Bistritz, which is very interesting old place, being practically on the frontier. For the Borgo Pass leads from it into Bukovina. It has had a very stormy existence, and it certainly shows marks of it. 50 years ago, a series of great fires took place, which made terrible havoc on 5 separate occasions. At the very beginning of the 7th century, it underwent a siege of 3 weeks and lost 13,000 people, the casualties of war proper being assisted by famine and disease. Count Dracula had directed me to go to Golden Crown Hotel, which I found, to my great delight, to be thoroughly old-fashioned, for of course I wanted to see all I could of the ways. My goodness. Count Dracula had directed me to go to the Golden Crown Hotel, which I found to my great delight to be thoroughly old-fashioned, for of course I wanted to see all I could of the ways of the country. I was evidently expected, for when I got near the door I faced a cheery-looking elderly woman in the usual peasant dress, white undergarment with long double apron, front and back of colored stone, fitting almost too tight for modesty. When I came close, she bowed and said, "The Herr Englishman." "Yes," I said, Jonathan Harker." She smiled and gave some message to an elderly man in white shirt sleeves who had followed her to the door. He went, but immediately returned with a letter. "My friend, welcome country tomorrow, the diligence will start for Bukovina. A place on it is kept for you. At the Borgo Pass, my carriage will await you and will bring you to me. I trust that your journey from London has been a happy one, and that you will enjoy your stay in my beautiful land. Your friend, Dracula. I hope you all enjoyed this very short reading of the first letter by Jonathan Harker. And now I will just record some beautiful sea, sand, and other summer related sounds for you and for me as memory tokens, so I can go back to them and remember this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sea coast of Greece. Stay tuned, and don't forget that you are always, always, always welcome